How's everybody doing today? Welcome back to another episode of The Banker Next Door. I am your host, Dr. Joe Berquist. Just wanted to start off by wishing everybody a happy Father's Day today. I hope everybody has a wonderful time out there with family, whatever you may be doing, barbecuing, going to the movies, whatever you're doing. I just hope you're having a good time with it. But in this episode, I wanted to talk about the current state of the SBA and their EIDL loans. So there have been a lot of issues, a lot of things going on with this. I wanted to bring in this article here real quick. So this article is entitled SBA Approved Millions of Loans During COVID. It now sits at the center of a bankruptcy wave. So the article kind of starts out talking about a typical small business that was struggling during the COVID period, about how they got PPP loans, and then they went for an EIDL loan and they didn't get approved for as much EIDL funding as they wanted, but they tried for $1 million, but then they ended up getting $500,000, and that wasn't enough money. And then they still ended up filing for bankruptcy, but then found out that they couldn't write off the EIDL loan amount. And now they're kind of stuck still having to repay this loan. And it's basically it's turned into a huge mess. And what I wanted to state is here's the crux of really what I wanted to get into, and that is what they say the SBA, and I'll scroll down here a little bit here so you can kind of follow along. So SBA skyrockets among small business bankruptcies. So the SBA ultimately approved more than 4.1 million SBA EIDL loans across 2020, 2021, and 2022, according to numbers updated on February 2nd. The rush to get as many loans as possible out the door in 2020 was later flagged by the SBA's Inspector General as being rife with potential fraud and underscored by loose lending standards. The agency began to charge off its EIDL loans, essentially declaring them in default and uncollectible, and the number of those loans is growing. In 2021, the agency charged off 21.5 million in EIDL loans. In 2022, that number grew to 198 million. But wait for it. Last year, the agency charged off an eye-popping $52 billion in EIDL loans, about 17% of the portfolio. And that number is likely to climb. The SBA Inspector General estimated the amount of delinquent or past due loans of 100,000 or less to be about 62 billion as of March of 2023. The SBA has since said about 1.3 million EIDL loans are either past due, delinquent, in liquidation, or charged off. The SBA now finds itself in a spot it has never been before as the main creditor to an ever-growing number of small businesses choosing bankruptcy. So it says the playbook, this is part of the Philadelphia Business Journal, this article here. The playbook reviewed business-level bankruptcy data from nearly 21,000 businesses across the 45 markets served by the Business Journal's network of publications, with more than 8,000 listing a major creditor in their bankruptcy, and the number of filings that list the SBA has skyrocketed. In 2019, the SBA is named as the main creditor in just 3 bankruptcies, according to the data reviewed. By 2022, that number had grown to 111. By 2023, it had more than doubled to 253. That figure stands to be surpassed this year, as the SBA was listed as the main creditor in 72 bankruptcies through March 20th, less than one quarter through the year. So what's interesting here is that this is not, what is key to understand here is this is not how the SBA operates. The SBA is not a direct lender. And that's why this is such an unusual thing for them. What the SBA does is they provide a guarantee on their different loan products. So in other words, if you do an SBA 504 loan, or if you do a 7A loan, or if you do a micro loan, or if you do a express loan, like express line of credit, express term loan, or 7A loan, it is a bank or a financial institution that is making that loan directly to the borrower, and then the bank or the financial institution receives a guarantee from the SBA for that particular loan. So the SBA does not directly lend money. However, in this instance, in an effort to try to get these loans out quickly, the SBA lent this money themselves. And the irony here is that, the SBA is always beating up other lenders for, carelessness or bad underwriting, or, not crossing the T's and dotting the I's. And yet here, when the SBA stepped into these shoes, they have done what appears to be an absolutely horrific job here with this. So, you made 4.1 million EIDL loans, of which, at least right now, it looks like 1.3 million of them are either delinquent, have been charged off, or in liquidation. It's a mess. Now, here's some other interesting things to add a little bit more context to this. So the SBA goes in front of Congress and tells Congress about these numbers. And Congress basically goes, well, wait a minute, aren't you trying to collect on this money? Like, what's going on here? And the SBA basically says, no, we're not trying to collect on it. We're not going to collect on it. We're just letting it go, just write it off, whatever. And Congress said, whoa, not so fast. This is taxpayer funded. Okay, this is coming from the taxpayers, and we're not going to just let this go. You guys are going to go, and you're going to go collect this money. So now the SBA is forced to go out and try to collect these funds. Okay, now they come back, and the SBA is now cries and basically says, like, well, we don't have the manpower, we don't have the people, because we've never done this before, and so we got to beef up, we got to get a lot more people in if we're going to collect this money. And then Congress came back with what I thought was a very rational, offer. Basically said, well, listen, why don't you just sell this EIDL loan portfolio? Why don't you sell this to somebody else? Like, sell it to a bank, sell it to somebody else, a private equity, whatever, hedge fund, and then let them go. They sell it to somebody who has the manpower, that has expertise in collections, in loan, and in managing loan portfolios, that you can hand this over to them and they will run with it and deal with the problem. And then SBA, you can just get back to doing what you guys have done for decades. And the SBA's response to that was no, we don't want to do that. We don't want to go down that. We don't want to roll down. We'll take care of this problem ourselves, even though we don't have the people or the expertise to do it. So a lot of questionable things. And this comes at a time, when the SBA is making all kinds of rather questionable decisions. They want to open up the SBA. Traditionally, it was just banks that were approved to do SBA loans. And now the SBA want to open it up to all kinds of fintech lenders, all kinds of other people to come in. That may or may not prove to be a good decision over time. Time and data will let us know whether or not that was a good move. And then the other thing is that the SBA also petitioned to become a direct lender. They wanted to do direct lending. Well, based on this performance here from EIDL loans, I think it's pretty clear that SBA should not be a direct lender, and they should basically stay in their lane and just stick to, running that government agency the way that it has been successfully run. And I would say here that the SBA is a very unique government organization because it actually makes money. It is actually self-funded and it makes money. It's actually a program that is not a drain on taxpayers. Surprise, imagine that. And the SBA, for the most part, has been pretty well run over the years. It's had its ups and downs. It's had different things that have happened, but for the most part, over the years, it's been a pretty decently run organization and has done just fine. And it basically funds itself off of the fees that it collects for offering the guarantees on all the SBA loans that it does that get done through all these other banks. And I just look at it. I think it comes back to kind of a thing of like, well, if it's not broke, don't fix it. Like, what, in other words, the SBA does just fine every year, makes money, isn't costing the taxpayers anything. So why not just kind of stay in your lane, keep doing what you're doing because it's working and it's fine. It's like, it seems like, as the SBA, again, they're trying to expand, they're trying to do other things. And it just seems like these are a lot of highly questionable decisions right now on the part of the SBA. So, and let's see here. Do we have And then let's just see, and then it just says, and then it kind of gives an update here to end this article as we come down here. It just kind of, it talks about, SBA outlines its actions, and then we go into like small businesses saddled by debt. So despite a comparatively robust economy with low unemployment and significant growth, many small businesses are strained under the weight of debt taken on during the COVID-19 pandemic. While about 28% of small businesses report they have no outstanding debt, roughly the same as the 29% that said the same in 2019, about 39% of small business owners reporting having more than $100,000 in debt last year. That's a notable increase from the 31% that reported more than $100,000 in debt in 2019, according to the 2024 report by employer firms, finding that the 2023 Small Business Credit Survey published by the Federal Reserve in March. So you've seen obviously small businesses getting hit with more debt here, taking on a higher debt burden. You're coupling that with the rise in costs that has been brought on by inflation. So it's not a good mix, right there, I would say, for a lot of small businesses right now in the country. But it looks like right now, based on these numbers, that this EIDL loan portfolio is going to continue to deteriorate. And I think that's what they're trying to say here at the end of this article, is that basically, hey, look, you got a lot more small businesses out there that are hurting, that took on a lot more debt, and they're going to get, they're going to continue to struggle with this, and that basically these EIDL losses will probably continue to go up, and it'll probably get a little bit worse before it gets better. So again, it gets back to the question of, the SBA is now in this unfamiliar position as being the creditor on these loans, and how do they deal with that, especially if they are, as they claim, just being understaffed and not having the resources to deal with a lot of this. So like I said, very, very interesting article. The SBA, like I said, the situation that the SBA is in right now. I, for one, like the SBA. I actually I kind of created an SBA program and ran that program for one of the banks that I worked for in years past. So while there are some things that the SBA does that frustrates me, and I think a lot of bankers out there would share that sentiment, I also recognize it is a very good government agency. It, like I said, has been run very well over the years. It is absolutely there for a reason. They provide a very essential service. Like, in other words, if the SBA was not there to guarantee these loans, a lot of these loans would not get done and would not get approved. And there are billions of dollars in SBA loans that get done every year. So it is a needed agency. It's a needed service for small businesses around the country, and that needs to continue. But like I said, I'm just concerned with a lot of what's materializing here with these EIDL loans, and what's going on with some of the what I view as very questionable decision making on the part of the leadership there at the SBA. I just have concerns about what could potentially happen to this agency in the years ahead. So. But we'll keep an eye on it. We'll keep an eye on it, and we'll see what happens. I hope for the best. But if you like this episode, please make sure to like, share, and subscribe. That always helps the channel. Please make sure to remember we are on YouTube, Rumble, and all major podcast platforms. Please leave your comments down below. And once again, I hope everybody has an awesome Father's Day out there, and I will see everybody again real soon. Thanks a lot.